over 65,000 race fans here at Tampa Stadium in Tampa, Florida for the continuation of the USHRA Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Series. I'm Brett Governor, and along with Jerry Devine, we'll be bringing you the action from, Jerry, what is annually one of the greatest events.
The Super Bowl of motorsports with 16 of the top monster trucks and the fastest mud racers you're going to find anywhere.
I'll tell you, our camera crews are just about ready to get things going. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us for the beginning of the action here at Tampa Stadium at what is one of the best events of the USHRA Association year. We're back at the Super Bowl of Motorsports, brought to you in part by Kicker, high-performance automotive speaker systems by Stillwater Designs. Jerry Devine, we've already run monster truck qualifying in the number 16 spot, the Nebraska-based Big Red Truck. 15th is a brand-new Ford called Rocky Mountain Thunder.
In the number 14 spot, Alan Pizzo with the Predator. Number 13, Warthog, driven by Trevor Fornes. And the number 12 position went to the Bad News, Norman Myers.
In the number 11 spot, Kevin Dabney in the Southern Hustler, big-time favorite down here in Florida. This is his home state, as a matter of fact. He'll be a crowd favorite. And in the number 10 spot, another Florida Ford, this one the Thumper entry, driven by Dwayne Daggett.
Number 9 went to Evil Force, Ray Perkowski, while number 8, No Problem, John Moore. The number 7 position went to High Voltage, driven by Jeff Bainter.
The number 6 position, indeed one of the strongest trucks we've seen so far this year, the incredible Barefoot entry of Warren Davis from the state of Montana. While the number 5 position went to probably the strongest rookie of the 1990 season, the Hot Stuff Jeep of Wisconsin's Todd Blazer.
John Payant, driving Bigfoot, took the number 4 position, and in number 3, Jim Reese with the Eliminator.
2 previous winners we've seen so far this year, and the first winner of the year. Rob Morris in the 4-wheel Crazy was number 2, but the number 1 qualifier was, of course, Jack Willman Jr. in the incredible Taurus Chevrolet, which suffered severe front-end damage during qualifying, Jerry, and it'll be a miracle if they can get this thing on the line for the first round of competition.
Well, here come the first pair of monster trucks right now. Coming up first will be Evil Force, driven by Ray Perkowski. He's from St. Louis with a 22,000-pound tow truck. This used to be called Big Toe. It's now called Evil Force. And I'm not sure if our number 1 qualifier is going to be able to make it, Brett.
He's waiting. I'll tell you, Perkowski's showing his sportsmanship, but there they are. Jack Willman has made it back to the starting line. Jerry, that crew has thrashed for 3 hours to repair the front-end damage they suffered after qualifying on the pole. What a job.
Well, this first round ought to be very exciting just to see Taurus, to see if they can hold that together. And Jack Woolman takes it easily.
Looking at the slow motion replay, you could see Ray Perkowski, after waiting patiently on the line for that machine to show up. 22,000 pounds of Ford, 5 feet in the air. But even at this point, Jerry, on the second ramp, he was already a half track behind the incredible Taurus machine.
Jack Woolman really has got that machine dialed in tonight.
Tell you, like I said, Perkowski should be commended for his sportsmanship and waiting for the Taurus team. But here you see the pole qualifier head on. Simply an amazing amount of power in this supercharged Chevy. And Willman makes it over the cars. Makes it look effortless, Jerry.
Parts flying off of those junk cars. Not too much air. Did you notice that?
That's true. And, of course, in a serious monster truck competition like this, where everything's on the line, the objective is to keep it as close to the ground as possible. You'll just waste time in the air.
All right, our next pair coming up. It's going to be Hot Stuff, driven by Todd Blazer. He's ready to go in his lane, and here's his competition, the Warthog, driven by Trevor Fornes. Both machines about ready to go. They are poised for action. Here we go now.
Director Ken Donoghue taking things on the starting line. Now, both machines are staged. Get ready for the
Warthog wins!
A truly incredibly close battle. Trevor Fornes, in his first ever national event in the U.S. Auto Association Trail with the Warthog, won that one by inches. I'll tell you what, Jerry, if the finish line had not been 4 cars from the end of that line, he would have lost because Todd Blazer passed him by the end of the cars, but the finish line is located 4 cars from the end of the line.
That's true. The hot stuff was really coming on at that finish line.
Amazing run. Trevor Fornes with a major upset. Got to remember, the driver of this bright red Jeep from Wisconsin is probably the hottest rookie of the 1990 season so far. Look at the bounce he took and kept in the throttle to hit the second set of cars. At this point, he had to be looking over because right there, while he was in the air, that was the finish line. He loses it by inches. Great race.
Next pair of monster trucks coming up to the line right now, getting ready to go. It'll be the Southern Hustler, driven by Kevin Dabney. And his competition will be the Eliminator, driven by Jim Reese. Both machines ready to go. Wow!
Another incredible come-from-behind win. What a job by Reese. You remember the Ecology Eliminator won one of our ESPN national events in the U.S. Auto Association Trail earlier this year. This guy can drive coming from behind after a big hole shot by Dabney, then way up in the air at the finish line to win it. I'll tell you what, that had to be close for both drivers. They had to be wondering who won that one.
Jim Reese, definitely a driver to watch tonight.
You see Kevin Dabney leaving the starting line after getting a great hole shot, the rear-engined truck. It's the only one in competition to this 16-car monster truck field. Right there, definitely getting sideways and a rough landing. Dabney, the home state hero, fails to overcome the big Chevy.
You can feel the electricity here at Tampa Stadium. These 65,000 people watch on and waiting for the continuation of the first round of Monster Trucks. We'll be back with the first round of Monster Trucks, but first this. Welcome back to the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mud and Monster Racing Championships in Tampa Stadium.
Well, Jerry, we've already seen 3 heats in the first round of the monster trucks, but we still have Bigfoot, Barefoot, Four-Wheel Crazy to Go, and the Wild Man of U.S. Auto Association monster truck racing in the near lane in the next match.
Yes, and the hot ones are coming up. Next pair ready to go. In this lane, we have Rocky Mountain Thunder, driven by Nick Jackson.
Relatively new truck out of Colorado, but he's up against a superstar, if there ever was one, on the U.S. Auto Association Trail, Jerry.
You better believe it. It is High Voltage.
Jeff Baintner, the man who will drive through anything, is pulling up in the mirror lane with his incredible Jeep. He's as wild as they come.
Jeff Baintner about ready to go. Let's watch this one. This ought to be a good race. High Voltage takes the win.
Tell you, Nick Jackson, a wild ride down there in the corner in the shutdown area. I can't believe Jackson's heavyweight Ford made it such a close race against Baintner. Jackson drove like he's never driven before. This is his first full year on the National Event Tour, sideways in the air, landing, trying to get on the brakes, bouncing all over the place, people running for their lives. Unbelievable run. He finally gets it stopped right up against the retaining wall, everything under control. But in the other lane, watch this launch, picking the front wheels of this short wheelbase, hard-to-control Jeep. Washington veteran Jeff Baintner just drives like there's no tomorrow. As always, watch this second hit. Under power, bouncing. The machine keeps it nice and even above the cars. A great, great win by a matter of inches. Every run we've seen, Jerry, is this close.
It has really been a close night of competition, and boy, you can imagine what those finals are going to be. All right, our next pair coming to the starting line right now. It'll be No Problem, driven by John Moore. Going against him will be Big Red, driven by Gary Schramm.
Once again, Henry Bowen.
Let's watch him now as they ease toward that starting line and getting ready to go.
To the stadium office now.
Wow, big red. He almost went over.
I'll tell you what, that thing was in the air, and I don't think anybody expected this match to be as much of a blowout as it was. Look at Schramm, he's happy. I'll tell you, Tennessee driver John Moore came off the starting line well, but ran out of steam somewhere on the top of the first set of cars. There you see it, got very little air. There was really no hope for it at that point. Schramm is driving a brand new truck in the other lane that nobody had any idea was as strong as it was. John Moore finally got back under power over the second set of cars, but by then it was way too late. You can see Schramm in the other lane already stopped. I'll tell you what, the Big Red Machine from the state of Nebraska was mighty impressive. Like I said, a brand new ride, a relatively unknown driver on the Camel Series. But that first set of cars, that launch, showed that he had the power. When he bounced it and put the wheels up in the air again, then it really sailed. And the landing, Jerry, like you pointed out, was as wild as they come.
Right on that left front wheel. He had all three wheels off the ground there for a while. Well, coming up next, it's going to be Bad News, driven by Norman Myers.
This is another brand new driver in a brand new truck. We had a lot of new drivers decide to hit the U.S. Hobbit Association Camel National Event Trail starting here, but look who he's up against.
Bigfoot, driven tonight by John Pyatt. John is ready to go, going against Bad News. Bad News got his hands full. Here we go. And John Pyatt takes the win pretty easily.
You have to remember, Pyatt had a lot to prove here tonight. He's leading the World Championship points race. This brand new driver trying to get up on the first set of cars had more than his fair share of problems. The Oklahoma City pilot tried to get back into the throttle. Norman Myers hits the second set of cars in much better fashion. But, of course, when you're running against the Big Blue Ford from St. Louis, there's more pressure on you than in any other race. He makes the turn with the alcohol flame coming out of the exhaust headers through the hood there. What a shot. Look at that photo. Unbelievable. In any case, John Pyatt, the Bigfoot driver who leads the U.S. Hobbit Association Camel World Championship, was picture perfect. But like I said, he's got a lot to prove here tonight because he qualified only fourth behind three drivers who have already won national events this year. Look at that leap over the last set of cars. That's why Bigfoot is Bigfoot, Jerry.
Well, the Predator coming up next, driven by Alan Pizzo. And going against him will be Warren Davis driving Barefoot. Barefoot, a Chevrolet, and the Chevrolet fans have a real tough machine here that they can cheer about tonight.
We saw the incredible Barefoot Chevy of Warren Davis score runner-up at one of our first events on ESPN this year in Seattle, Washington. We saw Alan Peza do a tremendous job in San Diego.
Let's watch this one. This ought to be a good matchup. Barefoot takes the win.
Man, did you see Pezzo and the Predator moving in on Barefoot, though, down at the finish line. Had Alan Pezzo not had a stumble at the start, he would have probably driven around this machine. Warren Davis, great starting line launch, never a bobble throughout the entire 250-foot course. Here you see him wheels up, coming down nicely, real nicely in the heavyweight Chevrolet. But boy, Pezzo in the other lane really made a charge at the end to make it close. About a half a truck length, in fact, at the finish line. Let's see if we can spot where Predator had the problems. Right there, the nose comes down immediately right after hitting the first set of cars. That's probably what hurt him, and that may have been a driver decision to try and keep it low, and he went too low. Look at the sparks as he hurt the front drivetrain. Obvious problems, bouncing all over the place in the shutdown area. Pezzo knows, though, that he gave it everything he had.
Well, two more to go in the first round of competition. It'll be Thumper, driven by Dwayne Dadgett.
Dadgett driving a Florida truck, and he's up against a tough one.
He certainly is. Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas, and Four-Wheel Crazy. Oh, no! Four-wheel crazy brakes.
I'll tell you, the Florida fans love every minute of that in the biggest single upset we have seen so far. Jerry, you're well aware that Rob Morris won the huge event at Anaheim, California. He has been in the points race as well. Something breaks the minute he hits the first set of the cars. The Florida Thumper Ford goes on to win. You can just imagine the thoughts going through Rob Morris's head. Here's Gadget, the second-generation driver of the big green Ford from down around Tampa. He hits the first set of cars nicely. Lord only knows if he'd have had the power to actually keep up with Rob Morris, but at this point it didn't matter. He was basically on a free ride.
Tough break for Rob Morris, but Thumper and his crew, they are happy.
Coming up next, if you're a mud racing fan, don't even think about going away. The supercharged super modifieds are coming up.
Well, you're looking at a war zone, but this isn't the only war zone, the only battleground. We're going to be going into mud racing now. It'll be another part of the Tampa Stadium where we're going to do battle.
Right down the center of Tampa Stadium, in fact, side by side, super modified mud racing as only the U.S. Hot Rod Association can bring it to you with the quickest and fastest four-wheel drive machines in the world. Jerry, a standard program, 80 foot of acceleration, but you see those yellow camel banners at the very end of the course. You've got to stop your machine without touching those banners or you'll be disqualified.
The Super Bowl of Motorsports being brought to you in part by Kicker, high-performance auto speakers by Stillwater Designs.
Well, 1 year ago here at Tampa Stadium, this incredible turbocharged Volkswagen mud dragster slammed into the wall. He's going to have an exhibition run here again.
Wow, look at this. Look out, look out, look out. Oh, it ripped a tire right off the rim.
It's an amazing machine, isn't it? A twin turbocharged Volkswagen engine that runs as quick and as fast as the supercharged V8 Super Modifieds, and that was a heck of a driving job. Look at that, the tire torn right off the rim, just like you said, Jerry, and that was an exceptional run. Believe it or not, 2.28 seconds for the Fisher Buggies Volkswagen, and he's going to drive the thing back to the pits.
Unbelievable. I was afraid he was going to hit the wall again.
I'll tell you, he did some bouncing, and when the machine dug in, it tore that wheel right off the rim. Look at this thing. Wheels up, blasting through 80 feet of mud. Now, he couldn't stop it because it was in the air. That's why he couldn't get on the brakes. Right through to the disqualification banner. Look at his hands off the wheel as he tries to steer it straight. What a ride in front of 65,000 people.
Oh, look at this one. The Hoosier Hustler, driven by Kevin Kolish. Beautiful machine.
Nitrous oxide injected 89 IROC Z28 Camaro, and he is up against the man who holds the 1.91 second track record here, Jerry.
Little roadster driven by John Runner. This is called Rapid Transit. Wow! And he goes through the disqualification banners.
We had just no sooner finished talking about it than the first man out goes through it. Here's John Runner, Florida's own, with his incredible Jeep Funny Car, 2.20 seconds. Remember, this isn't a lapse time competition. The four quickest vehicles will return for the Camel Shootout. Now, in the other lane, Kevin Kolish's nitrous oxide injected Camaro on the brakes hard, even puts it sideways to keep from going out. No way, Jose. He is history.
All right, next pair of machines coming to the line. It's going to be the A-Team, driven by Dick Wilson.
Like John Runner, he is a past champion here at Tampa.
And his competition will be Stroll for Gold, Gary Osteen.
Fuel injected, nitrous injected Chevrolet power in the near lane.
80 feet to start, 80 feet to stop. Let's watch him run. Way out in front. Oh, and Osteen goes over the disqualification banner.
I'll tell you, he was doing everything he could to stop. Dick Wilson, like I said, who's won this event before, 2.33 seconds. That will give him the second quickest elapsed time. Rear wheels in the air and then all four locked up. He stops with a good 10 feet to spare. But in the other lane, it was a completely different story. Beautiful gold metal flake Jeep Funny Car dug in right off the start. That wasn't going to help as he T 2.34 seconds right with Wilson. But look at this. Bouncing off the starting line, the brakes covered with mud. Look at the look on his face. He knows exactly what happened.
Well, the next pair of machines coming up ought to be a good one. The Coors Bullet with Wesley Newman behind the controls, and he'll be going against Black Magic.
You know, this Coors Light truck has been astounding this year. It's a brand new machine. We've seen it before on ESPN's coverage of U.S. Highway Association events, but this car, Al Stebbins' Florida-based Black Magic Corvette, has been one of the strongest machines in the southeastern part of the country for almost a decade. It's literally almost a legend down here, Jerry.
Pair of machines that are really, really strong runners. Let's watch them. Wow! He takes the back end right up off the ground.
I got to tell you, only Al Stebbins could come up with showmanship in stopping a car like that. 2.32 seconds. That will give him the third quickest time. Watch this stop. Hard on the brakes, rear end 3 feet in the air. He puts her sideways with more than enough room. The problems also covered the other lane. Big-time engine problems for the Coors Light supercharged Chevy, their history. Here's a young man looking good in points, Chad Miller from Ohio at the instant tee.
And he'll be going against the Dream Chaser, driven by Tony Lannis.
Lannis in a brand new machine. It's never been in the mud before. He used to have a Camaro mud racer. In the near lane, a brand new supercharged engine for this instant tee from Ohio.
Great looking hot rods. Here we go.
Staged and ready.
Oh no!
Absolutely unbelievable ride. I cannot believe that machine landed on all 4 wheels. The paramedics and even his crew already there. Take a look. The starting line launch with a new supercharged motor. Beautiful. He goes through the shutdown area sideways, bicycles on 2 wheels, digs in and puts it over. Just hanging there in the air, Jerry. I've never seen anything like that.
Took the wing off the top, but the roll cage stayed intact perfectly.
I'll tell you, looking at it head on, I don't think there was that much damage at all. 2.52 seconds. He had a lot of tire spin. Look at the tire distortion. Just about out of bounds. Now up on 2 wheels. He hangs on. It digs in. Incredible. Standing straight up in front of 65,000 people. And Chad Miller was fine. You can see him in the cockpit. He just lifts up the visor and says, "How did I do?" Unbelievable.
Well, they're pulling them off now. A lot of hay in the blower there.
Hit one of the side markers, and I'll tell you what, considering the fact that only a few darts of that machine touched dirt, he's lucky to get out of that with as little damage as was done, Jerry. It's amazing because Tony Lannis got to the finish line long before he did. Lannis' brand new Dream Chaser on its first ever trip through the mud really put one down. Look at this launch. 2.17 seconds. Huge power stand at mid-track. He gets on the brakes and stops it in plenty of time with the quickest run so far. You think that was wild? Stick around. We've got more super modified mud racing from the Super Bowl of Motorsports coming up. We're back in front of 65,000 screaming race fans at Tampa Stadium to watch this man. The 2-time and defending super modified mud racing world champion Tom Martin out of Valparaiso, Indiana in the incredible Mud Patrol.
He's going to be tough to beat, but here's the one that's going to try. More Sure Madness, driven by Kenny Heckel.
Now remember, the objective here in super modified mud racing is to be one of the 4 quickest runs through this 80-foot long pit. Right now, in order to be a part of the 4-car Camel Shootout, in which the 4 quickest return for the big overall prize, it takes a run of quicker than 2.33 seconds to qualify. The quickest run we've seen so far has been the Dream Chaser at 2.17.
Tom Martin bringing it up to the line. Here we go as we continue on with the Mud Racing Championships. Wow, Tom Martin puts the pedal down.
I'll tell you what, in the other lane, Kenny Heckel sailed through the disqualification barrier, but Tom Martin puts down the numbers he's known for. A great run. At 2.42 seconds, Kenny Heckle had a good run going, but look at this. Even though the kill switch shuts the motor down, he has no brakes. He just sails through that thing and makes the slow turn around the giant Tampa Stadium floor. That was enough to get the machine slowed down to a stop. But in the other lane, look at this launch. Look at the tire distortion. 2.12 seconds for the two-time world champ. Tom Martin, as always, Jerry, takes the #1 qualifying spot.
And consistent. All right, our next racer coming up, the intruder, Tom March, doing the driving.
Brand new machine for the Ohio driver. You can see the blue nitrous oxide bottle on the front there, and he's up against the incredible supercharged Ford Ranger from Rhode Island, Jerry.
Steve Balthazar going with all blown out. Here we go. Let's watch him.
Takes a run of 2.32 seconds to qualify.
Whoa! And he rolls over the disqualification line.
Did you see the look on Tom Marsh's face when he just touched that DQ line? He was mad. Balthazar's supercharged Ford-powered Ranger had engine problems right at the finish line. We'll have to wait to see the number. But look at poor Tom Marsh. Had a great run going. In fact, the elapsed time came out to 2.38 seconds. But then just by inches, he's over the line, and he knows it. In the meantime, Steve Balthazar in the other lane, 2.21 seconds. That will qualify him barely in the quick four. There you see the smoke. That's not just steam, but engine smoke. And Balthazar knows he's got engine problems.
Oh, look at this hot rod. It's called the Dirty Bird, driven by Gary Osteen.
That name sounds familiar. We saw him earlier in his Stroll for Gold Jeep funny car. This is a brand new 1956 Ford Thunderbird with fuel-injected Ford power. What a ride.
He'll be going against Chuck Noel with the Stepchild.
I got to tell you, Jerry, we had a chance to see the Stepchild back in the pits. This may well be the most advanced, engineered-wise, mud racer we've ever seen. This thing is incredible.
Definitely see that there's some new technology here.
It's a four-wheel drive Pro Stocker. That's all it is.
All right, both drivers about ready to go. Ooh, a good close run.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we were determining this on the basis of who gets there first, that one would be tough to call. But, of course, it's the quickest elapsed time that wins the race. The Stepchild at 2.42 seconds, not bad for its maiden voyage. That literally pro-modified four-wheel drive machine also stopped in time. Great run for a gorgeously constructed new machine. It won't be good enough to qualify for the quick four and the camel shootout. How about the brand new T-Bird? 2.63 seconds as the machine kind of dipped into the mud ruts off the starting line. But Osteen, literally there in a dead heat with the new Stepchild machine, also got on the brakes, Jerry. Well, that means that we've got our four qualifiers, but we still have round two of monster truck action to come here at the Super Bowl of Motorsports. Don't even think about going away.
Stay with us. 65,000 fans here at Tampa Stadium, and they're having a great time.
There are a bunch of people out there. There's no question about that. 65,000 people is a lot of people for any stadium. But Tampa Stadium so far has held some of the most incredible racing imaginable. The super modified mud racing field is set for the camel shootout. In fact, as this incredible wave continues to circle this stadium, let's quickly review what happened in the first round of monster truck action. And Jerry, the crowd is loving every minute of this event. They're having fun even when there's nothing going on the track.
Well, Taurus, of course, is the story of the night. This is the monster truck that we want to keep an eye on.
No question. Remember, in qualifying, they came out and qualified #1 in this 16-truck field by something on the order of 1.08 seconds. That is a huge advantage. But on that qualifying run, they nosedived the truck, broke the front end in half. They spent 3 hours down to the minute before the first round of eliminations to fix that truck, and they still made it back out for the first round of competition. That is dedication.
Well, we also have the Warthog, the Eliminator, High Voltage, Big Red, of course, Bigfoot, Barefoot, and Thumper still in competition.
There's something you want to look out for in this matchup, too. On the bottom half of the ladder, if Bigfoot and Barefoot win their elimination rounds over the new Nebraska Big Red and the Florida Thumper trucks, they're going to meet in the semifinal round, Jerry, and that is the match that every crowd loves to see.
Ford against Chevrolet, Bigfoot against barefoot.
Likewise, we're going to see the Eliminator, a machine which has already won one event on this year's ESPN U.S. Hobbit Association Tour, taking on the Wildman, Jeff Baintner in the high-voltage Jeep. That will be awesome. But here's the killer.
Here comes Taurus, Jack Willman Jr. doing the driving. He'll be going against the Warthog.
This was probably the biggest upset of the first round. The Warthog machine winning an extremely close race. But I'll tell you what, Jerry, he's going to have to come up with every bit of horsepower he's ever had in his life to get around this truck.
And of course, with Taurus, he broke earlier in the during qualification, and whether or not they were able to fix it and make that repair last, that's going to be the secret.
It's true. We still don't know how good the repairs were. We'll have to see here.
Jack Willman takes the win.
I'll tell you, that could have been the ultimate test of those front-end components. Jerry, everything held together on a rough ride. The Warthog 4 team has to be commended. A tremendous job at this, their first U.S. Hobbit Association National Championship event. Trevor Fornes definitely surprised a lot of people with this beautiful yellow Ford truck. Ran into problems on the last set of cars, but in all seriousness, it really didn't matter, Jerry. The Taurus Chevrolet just dominated that match from start to finish.
Unbelievable. Watch this run now.
Smooth as glass over the first set, maybe a little too high, but then it comes down rough and just kept bouncing, even drifted off to the left side. Willman never even thought about taking his foot off the throttle, though. Just incredible driving in an incredibly rough situation.
He certainly is the truck to beat tonight. All right, our next pair of machines now are just about ready to go. It will be the Ecology Eliminator, driven by Jim Reese.
You know, Jerry, this truck is still in primer from a horrendous crash he suffered just 2 weeks ago. Just making it to this event was a heck of a job.
Looks like he's got it together, and he is ready to run. He'll be going against High Voltage.
The Wild Man is back. Jeff Baintner in the high-voltage Jeep, the ultimate never-say-die driver.
Short wheelbase Jeep going against Jim Reese. This ought to be a good one. Let's watch him now. And the win goes to High Voltage.
I don't know how. That truck was almost a full vehicle length behind Jim Reese and somehow managed to come by to win it in such a close manner you couldn't even tell. Jim Reese had a handling problem there on the second set of cars, bicycling it on the left side. He lands. There's no way in the world he could have known who won at that point. Watch this launch, though, from Baintner. Carrying the front wheels 2 feet in the air in this 15,000-pound Jeep. Tremendously airborne over the first set of cars. Just one bounce is all it took to get over the second set. Sideways in the air. What a driver. That man is fearless.
Well, coming up, more monster mashing in the quarterfinals, so stay with us.
We're in the middle of the second round of monster truck competition at the Super Bowl of Motorsports at an absolute packed house. Standing room only, as 65,000 fans have jammed Tampa Stadium for monster truck action and mud racing, Jerry.
Yes, and look what we got coming up. It's Bigfoot going against Big Red. John Payant behind the controls of Bigfoot. He's ready to go. And he'll be going against Big Red, truck from Nebraska.
Brand new piece of equipment in the far lane, and Jerry, anytime a rookie driver moves up alongside that big blue Ford, anything can happen.
For sure. Gary Schramm doing the driving on Big Red.
Look at him staring at Bigfoot. John Payant, he gives him thumbs up. Hey, a nice way to go at it. Wishing him luck.
Bigfoot Barefoot takes the win. Big Red, he was out in front.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe Gary Schramm gave John Pyatt the race that he did. Bigfoot and Pyatt doing everything they can to stay even. Look at that power stand just before it. Look at this airborne leap over the second set of cars. A nosedive, a huge set of bounces, and stops it just before running into the retaining wall. But here was the star of that match. Anybody that can give Bigfoot a battle like that in his first pairing with the legend has got to be commended. Look at this leap, and now watch this landing as the truck nosedives, and he manages to keep it right side up. What a pair of rides.
Well, John Pyatt had to come from behind on that one. Very definitely. All right, coming up, this will be the final pair in the second round. Thumper, Dwayne Dadgett. And he'll be going against Barefoot, driven by Warren Davis.
It's hard to tell which truck the Chevy fans are cheering for more, Barefoot or Taurus, but this is probably the original Chevy monster here.
All right, here we go. Let's watch him. Barefoot takes the win, and a fire in Thumper.
Well, it goes out quickly enough. Apparently just a little bit of oil on the exhaust headers of that big block supercharged Ford. You can see Dwayne Dadgett out of the truck already. He wants to see what the problem was. In fact, it may still be burning just a little bit on the exhaust headers in there. Like I said, the second generation driver from the Tampa area inspecting the engine, and he says, yeah, it's still burning. Get me something to put this out. They turn on the fire extinguisher, but I don't think they're going to need it. I think it'll burn out on its own.
Safety crew right there at the spot. Here we go. Let's take another look at it.
Didn't look like there were any real problems until right at the finish line, except for a severe lack of power that allowed Barefoot to get well out in front at this point. In fact, right there, Dadgett seems to be looking down at the gauges saying, why isn't this thing running right? Takes a hard bounce right there, sideways, and there for the first time you see a puff of smoke. Apparently a valve-covered gasket or something leaking oil onto the hot exhaust headers, and as they say at Cape Canaveral, we have ignition. That's a pretty good-sized fire there for a minute, Jerry.
It sure was, but safety crew was right there, and they got it taken care of without any problem.
Dadgett also did pretty good in getting out of this thing real quick, releasing a 5-point safety harness and diving to the ground. In the other lane, the Barefoot machine from Montana, Warren Davis, manages to pull it out. Not an overly spectacular run, but conservatism, I think, may be his key. Jerry keeping that truck down low to the ground to pick up more time. It was enough to win, but you know what that means. Barefoot versus Bigfoot in the semifinals.
That will be something else. And speaking of the semifinals, we're just about ready to go into that. It'll be Taurus going against High Voltage and Bigfoot versus Barefoot.
Now that I think about it, Taurus and High Voltage could be pretty scary as well. You know Jeff Painter in that yellow Jeep. He'll do anything he has to win. We're ready to go.
Here we go. Taurus on the far side, closest to us, the little yellow Jeep, High Voltage. Both drivers psyching each other out, just about ready to go.
Looks like we've got a little psychology war going on the starting line. Neither driver willing to stage up immediately.
Taurus takes the win with about 2 lengths to spare.
Well, that looked a little deceiving. It looked originally like Taurus had a huge hole shot, but I think on the slow-mo we'll see that Jeff Painter had no power whatsoever off the starting line. Still great reactions by the driver of the purple GMC from Granite City, Illinois. He was right there when the green light came on. These drivers, by the way, are started by green lights located at the finish line. We can't actually see the starting mechanism. It's staring the drivers right in the face. But that means Jack Wilman and the Taurus machine moves to its second final round of the year on ESPN's coverage of U.S. Automotive events. The launch was just about perfect, but still the track is getting rough, Jerry. Look at that landing there. That is rough on the driver. Another hard bounce at the finish line, and you can see Wilman was out of the throttle. He must have looked over at some point and realized that Painter was not going to be a threat. Now, like I said, on the replay, we should be able to see that the high-voltage Jeep ran into some kind of mechanical problem. Hey, when Jeff Painter doesn't pick the front wheels 2 feet off the ground, there's a problem. Painter never had the power that he needed to get around the Taurus machine, and you can just bet what he's mumbling to himself under that helmet right there. Came around at the finish line, but then he even got out of the throttle himself. He knew there was no hope. So Torres goes to the final round, but what about this match, Jerry?
Two big blue monster machines coming to the line. This is Barefoot. Warren Davis behind the controls with a Chevrolet truck, and he'll be going against John Pyant and Bigfoot.
Now look at the scenario we've got here. So far this year, the very first event on our ESPN coverage series this year, Barefoot got runner-up in Seattle, Washington. But now Bigfoot is leading the World Championship point series. You don't think these two have something to prove to each other and to the fans? This is a war.
And the winner of this race goes against Taurus in the finals.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Wild racing coming up. Let's watch it now. Feel the power. It's Barefoot.
The most incredible possible upset. Warren Davis comes out of the cab to salute the Chevy fans. He knows he's pulled off the biggest single upset possible at this event. Look at the machine carry the front wheels off the starting line. He dumped the clutch and made a go for it. A beautifully smooth run, still keeping the truck low to the ground, except for maybe there. But obviously he was going to drive away from Bigfoot. The nosedive kept him from slowing the truck. When you're in the air, the brakes don't help you much. He locks it up within 5 feet of the retaining wall. John Pyant left the line somewhat sluggishly, but you can't say Bigfoot wasn't chasing the Chevy down, Jerry.
He did a good job of driving. He held the distance down. He didn't get too much air.
And another big set of bounces for the Bigfoot Ford. They've had that problem down in the shutdown area all night. He, too, was pretty close to the wall. And now it's Barefoot versus Taurus. Plus, we've got that Camel Super Modified Mud Racing Shootout to come. Stay around.
We're back with the Super Bowl of Motorsports, and now we go into the Camel Shootout.
The 4 quickest mud racing qualifiers. In the far lane, Tom Martin, the 2-time and defending world champion. The man who became the first ever under 2 seconds flat at this very track 2 years ago takes on John Runner.
Here we go. Tom Martin.
John Runner sliding awfully close to that disqualification banner. Look at John Runner leave the starting line. It looked like a little bit more tire spin than he had anticipated. The elapsed time, 2.53 seconds. He locks up the brakes, slides within range of a safe run. Martin's machine leaps off the ground, 2.40 seconds. Sideways at the finish line, trying to find fresh mud to dig in. Martin sets the pace. The quickest elapsed time of this round wins the overall Super Bowl of Motorsports Championship.
Well, Tom Martin real happy with that run.
Well, he's got to be concerned. He knows that Steve Baldassar's new supercharged Ford Ranger is strong. And Tony Lannis' new Dream Chaser that we saw run 2.17 seconds, only 500 slower than Tom, is an identical copy to Tom Martin's vehicle. So he knows it's fast.
Well, those are two incredible machines, and here we go. The Dream Chaser going against All Blown Out.
The mark to beat, 2.40 seconds on the starting line for the final battle.
Look out, look out, look out. Whoa, he's over.
Tony Lannis taking a wild, wild ride. The paramedics once again right on the scene, and apparently he is A-OK. Nobody's concerned about this. I'll tell you what, that thing was so sideways at the finish line. The elapsed time, 2.52 seconds, but now it goes sideways. It takes down the finish line pole on his roof and back over. Boy, he got thrown around in there. You could see the belts holding him into the roll cage area. Jerry, that was a rough ride.
He handled it very well. Let's look at this one now.
Now, Steve Baldassar at 2.39 seconds by 100th of a second with the rear wheels in the air gets by the 2-time and defending world champ Tom Martin.
Here's the finals in the monster trucks. Barefoot going against Taurus. Jack Willman driving Taurus, and Warren Davis behind the controls of Barefoot.
On the slow motion replay, you can still see Jack Willman, conservative but still aggressive. The track extremely rough. The second jump was even rougher than the first. He noses the truck just a little bit, but he knew when he landed that he was out in front, Jerry.
Great race. Well, coming up, the point standings and a talk with the winners. So stay with us. Welcome back. We have with us the winner in the monster trucks, Jack Willman. Congratulations, Jack. A great run on one of the biggest events on the U.S. Hot Rod Association trail.
Yeah, there's some pretty tough competition here tonight. The lanes was getting, in pretty bad shape, and like I say, I'm glad to be a winner, and I just want to give special thanks to the owner of the truck, Jack Willman.
Your father, of course. You know, every round you had some wild rides. It looked like you were really getting beat up in there.
Yeah, the last race, like I say, the lanes was getting pretty rough, and there's getting some really big holes in the cars, and it was a really rough ride the last time, and just glad to be a winner here at the United States Hot Rod Association.
Well, about the half-track mark, you had to know you were in the lead.
Yeah, the last set of cars was really getting a big hole in them right there at the end, but a truck kind of jumped over them, and we pulled the win out.
Tremendous job nonetheless.
Thank you.
An incredible young man and an incredible truck. And, Jerry, we're going to be seeing a lot more of that machine, and that is going to make a big change in the point standings, too.
It sure. Let's take a look at these point standings right now.
Well, Bigfoot is still number one based on his semifinal finish here tonight at 923, but look at the change we've got number two, Jerry.
Taurus is coming up fast with 884 points.
I'll tell you, we saw a couple of moves in the bottom half of the top 10. The Eliminator truck up to number 7. Jeff Painter and High Voltage hanging in 8th. And probably the biggest surprise is Ray Perkowski with a 22,000-pound tow truck is actually ranked number 9 now. He's done amazingly well this year with that truck.
Ray has really come along, and he's got 476 points right now. Now in the mud standings.
Well, of course, Tom Martin, the man who won the World Championship for the last 2 years with the Mud Patrol, his semifinal finish here tonight will keep him in the lead. But Chad Miller, the man who crashed in that supercharged Instant T, has moved up to second, not only at this event, but because of performances at other ones. As a matter of fact, we've got a couple of changes in the bottom half of the top 10 of this field, too, including Dick Wilson's 18 from Florida, which moved up to 6th, and the Black Magic Corvette of Al Stebbins, which also moved into the top 10. And that's a machine that could really do some damage in the Camel Mud Monster Series as we go through this year, Jerry.
That's right, and this year is only half over, and we'll be coming up next in Oklahoma City.
That's true. Like you said, there are some 60 events in the U.S. Hot Rod Association schedule in 1990. We've gone through about 30 of them right now. We still have half the year to go. Oklahoma City is the next stop. As you can see, when you put 65,000 people in an arena, you got to send them home all at one time. And, Jerry, there's a traffic jam out there not to be believed.
It's a dandy, but the people had a great time tonight, and they're going to go home happy.
That's for sure. An incredible event. We'll see you next from Oklahoma City on the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mud Racing and Monster Truck National Championship Series. On behalf of myself, Brett Kepner, and Jerry Devine, thanks for being with us. See you next time. This has been an SRO Paced Promotion presentation in association with ESPN.